Hey, how's it going, guys? We are back with more Buffy the Vampire Slayer reactions. This time on to episode number 10 of season 1. Cutting it fairly close, I feel, because I think this season actually is like a even even I think probably not even for, but just like in general for an introductory season, they did like this is like a fairly short-ish kind of season. I think it's not really past 12 or 13 episodes, so been a wild ride so far. I think, looking back, it's been a wild ride, so I can't wait to see where it all leads up to. If it actually does kind of, if it actually is leading up to a kind of story heavy finale, or if it's actually just going to be like if it like is like almost every episode so far has been somewhat fairly mix and match with its stories and its characters and everything. So I do wonder if they're going to go with that for the whole thing, and then for season 2 onwards, it actually gets to more of like an actual story driven kind of thing, or what's going to happen. But either way, I'm here for it, regardless of what happens. I'm here for it. So yeah, on to episode 10. Episode 9, we had a pretty fun one. Episode 9, we had a pretty fun one. We had Sid. I believe his name was Sid. His name was Sid. His name was Sid. Sid. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure Sid was the name of the demon hunter too. But we had a demon hunter trapped in a ventriloquist dummy. And some people were dying. And like I think one cheerleader died and her heart was ripped out. Her heart was stabbed out and carved out and everything. And naturally, like a ventriloquist dummy being in this, you kind of naturally suspect him. But then it was revealed that the entity inside the dummy was actually a demon hunter, and the demon hunter had actually killed 6 out of 7 like members of like a brotherhood of demons and everything, and they were the ones who, in an attempt to actually become physically human, they had been kind of like on the prowl, kind of hunting and kind of consuming human hearts and brains, like two vital human organs. So they had the heart, and then I think the brain. They needed the brain of They needed a both kind of like a mentally and I mean like a physically and intellectually kind of healthy brain too. So I think initially I think with Morgan, who was actually controlling Sid and who was actually connected to Sid. I think Morgan, he had like brain cancer and everything, so he was still passing his classes, but then because of his brain cancer and his kind of visits to the doctor and everything, I think his brain, they still carved it out. But then I think but then they found out that it was actually kind of not really suited to their needs specifically. So then they kind of threw it away and tossed it away and everything. So that would just gave Morgan a really sad and crappy ending. So that happened. But then they came across Giles, who was a watcher. He had years and years of actual. I think for him too. I think like in general, like I think like a high school student's kind of brain could have worked in a generally kind of intellectual way, but then with Giles, he's actually familiar with that kind of lore, with that kind of history, with that kind of deeper, darker kind of secret world and everything. So I think having the brain of a watcher would actually probably work in their kind of favor too. So then I think it was I don't know who it actually was. Did I write it down? I don't know who it was. I think Mark. Mark might have been his name. He was actually he was I think like the whole talent show thing going on. He was practicing like a whole kind of disappearing act and everything. But I think he started off with that. He started off with that with his assistant. But then I think he moved on to. I think he still had that in the background, but then I think he also kind of like on the side as like a little slide trick kind of thing. He actually had the whole guillotine thing coming down and carving stuff open. It was a real blade and everything. I mean, looking back, I'm not really exactly sure how the teachers would have actually allowed that. And I think especially Mr. Snyder, because then he, pretty much made it clear from the get go that he wasn't really going to be going easy on students. He wouldn't be tolerating any kind of hijinkery or anything. So I don't know how don't know how anyone really let like a guillotine slip in past them, because that was a real blade that could, definitely did the job in the end, being used in like an Uno reverse way on Mark himself. So I don't know exactly how like a guillotine made it kind of past security or any kind of actual health and safety checks and everything. So somehow it made it in there. Somehow he snuck it in. I think maybe they just made him promise that he wouldn't use it on any actual people, which he then lied about. But yeah, he tried to go after Giles, and the team came in and saved Giles, and then they beheaded the demon and everything, so that happened. But then they need to go for the heart too, so then Sid actually got in the final kill, actually doing like a whole dummy kind of jumping heart stab thing, and then he got free too, because his body was long dead and long kind of decayed and everything, so then his spirit would just leave the dummy and exit to the land of the dead and everything. So Sid got his kind of final kill, and he got his final kind of killing blow, his final kind of act of vengeance upon upon the Brotherhood and everything. So that was cool. So he went out. He I think he delivered the killing shot even on the actual seventh and final kind of demon from the Brotherhood. So that was a cool ending for him. Then the trio, the Sunnydale trio, actually kind of did their part too. They were ordered by Mrs. Snyder to actually deliver their own act for the talent show because they mocked it to begin with, and they had to be there. They were forced to take part in it and everything. So I think that they they did the Oedipus play, the Oedipus. I don't know exactly. I don't know what part of the Oedipus story because I think it was like a recital of Oedipus's life and everything. And I think Giles, not Giles, Xander must have been playing Oedipus, and then Buffy and Willow were doing their own thing, and then I don't know who they were meant to be playing, but pretty sure I think based on Xander's narration and his dialogue, I think he was meant to be playing Oedipus, probably logically. So that was an interesting kind of choice to do. Like doing like a drama thing makes sense, but then they went with Oedipus of all stories. I think for comedy's sake it probably works, but then they could have done almost anything else, but Oedipus was what they went with. So yeah, was it an Oscar or even like an Emmy award-winning performance? Who knows? It was like a post-credit thing, so it wasn't really kind of meant to be taken too seriously. But who knows? Who actually knows? So that stuff happened. And yeah, again, yeah, met Mr. Snyder. We met Mr. Snyder. He is Principal, not Tulip. I don't know why Tulip came to my head. Flutie, Principal Flutie's replacement, and he is right off the bat, he's not only like a very kind of commanding and very very kind of dictatorial kind of figure, but he's also very very ominous. Like he kind of has, I think he had some ominous kind of shots and scenes here and there, like him randomly finding Buffy down in the basement, and then him lurking in the shadows and walking away from Giles, and him just kind of generally being really kind of secretive and really kind of being like, oh, I don't know what you kids are up to, but I'm gonna find out and I'm gonna do something about it and stuff like that. So I think this is definitely one of those characters where I feel like I don't know if they're actually going to turn them into a villain, or if it's just going to be the fact that they're just generally more creepy than they actually intend to be, and it just kind of gives off like the wrong vibe, like Jack from Hawkeye. Like he just kind of seemed a bit weird at first, but then in the end he's like he's just like a slightly ominous kind of dork that loves swords and everything. So with Snyder, I mean, I think maybe I can see it kind of happening a bit more with Snyder because of just in general, I wouldn't be too surprised if they did go down that route with him, but at the same time I don't really know because I think the Master's still up and kicking, and I think he's still probably training the Anointed One, so chances are he's like focused on that, but then I think that wouldn't really stop the Master from trying to send anyone else into the school to try and do that thing. So maybe if Snyder might secretly be in contact with him, or I mean that might be a bit too easy, but I think at the same time it's like, to me it kind of seems mostly plausible. So I guess we shall see exactly where this is all heading to. But yeah, it was a great 9th episode of the first season of this so far awesome show. So I can't wait to get into season 10. Pretty sure there's only 7 seasons, but into episode 10 of season 1. So on to the reaction for episode number 10 of season 1. So yeah, let's go. Is she hunting the Master? Gotta get that Buffy tingle up and going. Those Buffy, the Slayer senses. Get those Slayer senses up and running. The Buffy tingle, whatever. Or is this like a nightmare maybe? Because then it's not unusual for these kind of openings to be visions or dreams or whatever.
I spoke with your father.
Oh, we're gonna be introduced to Father Summers. Was it a divorce? Is he in Joy's divorce? Divorced, okay. I think I vaguely remember a reference like that in the beginning. Does he know Buffy's a Slayer? Like a chosen one? Is that why?
Don't you know that she is the center of the universe and the rest of us merely revolve around?
Why don't you revolve yourself?
Weighs heavy on the cerebral cortex. We're doing active listening.
Oh god, I love Willow. I love her. Is that the Anointed One? Is that him? Oh hell no.
Sorry about that.
He's responsible for that. Oh, that got me. It's a shot in the actual fucking intro, and I forgot it even existed. I forgot. It just. Wow. God, it got me so hard I couldn't even bop along to the intro like I usually do. I'm actually so freaked out by the intro. I actually can't even relax right now. I genuinely can't relax.
Are you worried your father isn't going to show? No. I know it's a hard situation. You just have to remember that your father adores you.
Who wouldn't? It's Buffy. Who wouldn't? Who could possibly stand Buffy up? If anyone stands Buffy up, they're just not worth waiting for. They're not worth having around. Simple as.
I don't like spiders, okay? Their furry bodies and
She is me. Yeah, she is me. She is me. Exactly. 8 legs is too many legs for any living being. Okay, Willow, please, honey, stop talking about it. Just stop. Just.
Ruffle you.
Now, if a bunch of Nazis crawled all over my face.
No.
Wow, the hellmouth, the center of
God. I love Spider-Man. Don't get me wrong. I love Spider-Man. I love spider superheroes, but spiders, not my biggest kind of fondness.
They're arachnids.
They're from the Middle East.
Spiders are arachnids.
That's
They have 8
out.
legs. Insects only have 6. I had the best collection in the Tri-County area. Browns and tarantulas and black widows.
Oh, and I love Black Widow too. The character. Yeah.
Instead, he left their heat lamp on for a week.
Oh no.
When I came home, they were all dead.
Do they all burn?
That's when the nightmares started.
Oh, so this is like karma or vengeance?
I haven't been to class. I haven't read any of the assignments. How am I going to pass this test? Blind luck?
I think that's the first interaction they've had in a long time that hasn't ended with Cordelia insulting her. Or even, yeah.
At least I know my name.
Buffy. Oh no. This really is it's not blind luck, it's bad luck. Is she having a bad luck day? Is this bad luck, Buffy? Oh, she smokes in the basement. Well, hey, maybe you can light it. Fire. I'm pretty sure fire kills them, right? Pretty sure fire kills them. You can just burn this one. Just throw it. Throw the. Oh, no, wait. Oh. Oh. Oh.
Lucky 19.
I'm sorry?
That's what he called her.
It's what he said right before.
We should ask Buffy when she gets
Oh, she has a Star Wars banner. Nerf heard her. That's so cool.
Little baby! Mom, what are you doing here? How's my little booty? Mom, this is embarrassing, Mom.
Xander, what happened to your...
Oh boy. Oh. At least there's still something. At least there's still something.
It's gotta be a dream.
Oh god, how does this happen? How does Xander...
I've got back issues of the... I'm trying to do some research.
12-year-old Billy Palmer was found beaten and unconscious after his Kitty League game Saturday. Doctors describe his condition as critical.
Okay, so is this nothing to do with the Anointed One then? Huh. I literally assumed it was the Anointed One because he looked so different. This is he looks like a fairly average Joe.
Sure. Was there someone else?
No, it was nothing like that.
Okay, good.
Then what was it?
It was you. You embarrass us with all the crazy stunts you pull, and do I have to go on?
No.
Oh god.
Still.
You're sullen and rude, and
Ugh.
you're not nearly as bright as I thought you were going to be. Hey, Buffy, let's be honest. Could you stand to live in the same house with a daughter like that?
Jesus.
Why are you saying all these things?
Because they're true. I think that's the least we owe one another.
Oh, Buffy.
No, I don't think it's very mature getting blubbery when I'm just trying to be honest.
This is this like another kind of
I sure
thing?
think it turned out differently.
That is a living nightmare. That is a living nightmare. Is that what this is? Is this another one of those kids that the kid is involved with this again? Is this his doing?
Wendell had a recurring dream about that.
I dreamt that I got lost in the stacks and I couldn't...
That's your nightmare, not being able. Oh, I mean, I guess, yeah.
Dreams are coming true.
It would be a musical comedy version of this. Nightmare. Our nightmare.
So why is this happening?
A musical comedy of Buffy. That would be something. That would be something.
Somehow, I think he's crossed over from the nightmare world he's trapped in.
And he brought the nightmare world with him.
So he crossed over to the nightmare world of all places he could go.
How could he do that?
Things like that are easier when you live on a Hellmouth.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. So he had no control over it then, and because he's on the Hellmouth, it's automatically drawn to the nightmare world. Oh no, Cordelia's nightmare. Oh no. Oh dear. Oh dearie me.
I was just at the salon.
Oh goodness. Oh.
I play second base.
It's pretty cool.
Are you lucky 19?
Oh, is that his number? Oh, there we go. Oh, he's a big one. He's a big one.
Probably faster if we split up to look for her.
Good idea.
Sure, splitting up.
Faster, but not really safer.
Not safer. Willow hasn't had one yet. Well, Willow hasn't had a nightmare of her own yet. So what would be hers? I think wait, did she? I don't think she did. Oh, and her clothes have changed.
I'm not afraid. You'd think I'd be afraid. But I'm not.
Remember, courage is just a matter of being afraid but doing what needs to be done anyway. So, yeah. Oh, Nazis. His nightmare, Nazis. His nightmare is Nazis.
Oh, right.
Does he not see the swastikas? Did he miss them?
Someone else's loss is my chocolatey goodness.
I missed a ball and I should have caught it.
That's not the end of the world.
One ball and the whole game was your fault.
There are failures.
When
There
we're
are,
playing, there wasn't 8 other people on your team.
yeah.
Billy, did he hurt you after the game? Can we go another way to find your friends? Sure.
Jeez. And he's just a kid. He's what? I think he was what, like 15?
Cafeteria.
He's just a kid. Oh Christ. Oh. Wait, is this guy even a vampire? I think he has fangs, right? I think I'm pretty sure he has fangs. He's a vampire, but he's still just gonna beats people to shit. Oh God. She's got a whole new look. Is that a kimono dress?
Greatest singer, the world's finest soprano, Willow Rosenberg.
What? Oh no. Oh, she doesn't know the words. Mm-hmm. Don't tell me it's a clown. Don't say oh! Get a clown! Oh, God, get a clown. Epic backward roll, but that's a killer clown. This episode is nightmare fuel. This episode, I don't know why, but this episode is nightmare fuel. It's nightmare fuel.
What are you afraid of?
Oh, come on, Buffy. Oh, God. Oh, dear God.
How about being buried alive?
Oh, that would be terrifying. Oh, nice one. Nice right hook.
Animals were pathetic. Everyone can make a giraffe.
Okay, so he fights back against his fears. That's what the rest of you got to do. You just got to fight back against your fears.
I feel good. I feel liberated.
Hell yeah, you just punched the clown in the face.
You seem to be the only one. It's mine.
Buffy, his nightmare. Buffy Summers, that's her headstone. Is it like he fails her as her watcher?
Failed.
Ugh.
In my duty to protect you. But you were so gifted. And the evil was so great.
Yeah, no, she's still alive. She's still alive. Don't worry, she's still alive. She's not a zombie. She's still alive. She's still alive. Not dead. Oh,
Thought I was dead.
Buffy, your face.
vampire. She became the very thing she swore to destroy.
I need you to hold together long enough to help us. Can you do that?
I think I can.
Hey, and for what it's worth, she's a really pretty vampire.
Thank you.
Like those eyes, the yellow
We
really
better hurry,
brings out the
'cause I'm getting hungry.
sunny Dale glow in her. I don't know where I was going with that.
Joke, right?
Oh, zombies in the hospital. Zombies in the hospital. Oh no. Yeah, okay, you need to wake up Billy. Get to Billy's room, lock the frickin' door. Oh, what are those? Wasps, flies, bees, some amalgamation of both, or all three?
I'll tell you something now. There are a lot scarier things than you. And I'm one of them.
Oh, that was badass. Oh, vampire v vampire. Yes. Come on, vampire Buffy. Come on, vampire Buffy. Like, vampire Buffy should probably be just as strong as Slayer Buffy, right? You know? Ugh. Oh, God, that is one really clubby hand. Jesus. Oh. Oh, that's it. Break the club. Break the club.
I don't. You have to do the rest.
You gotta face your fears. Tell your fears to fuck off back to the nightmare realm. That you're in control here. Oh, unmasking. Unmasking it. Oh. Oh. Just like that, he's gone. And Billy's awake.
Oh, Billy's got company.
The father.
I'm his kitty league coach.
Okay, never mind then.
I come by here every day.
Coach.
He's my lucky 19. So, how is he?
The lucky 19.
You said it was my fault that we lost.
Oh, no, no, no.
There's 8 other players on the team.
Mm-hmm.
You know that.
Fucking asshole. He doesn't deserve to coach anyone.
Nice going.
Mm-hmm. Facing yet another fail in real life, handing it to the coach.
But that was kind of heroic, Xander, grabbing him and all.
Well, I just did what anybody else would have. I mean, if you want to label it heroic.
Oh. Okay, hopefully this time goes better now. Her father should be a lot nicer this time around, yeah.
When Buffy was a vampire, you weren't still, like, attracted to her, were you?
Willow, how can you... I mean, that's really bent. She was...
Still dug her, huh?
I mean, Buffy is a vampire.
Don't I know it?
Hey, vampires can be... Yeah. You know, who can blame anyone who's still attracted to vampire Buffy, you know? It's a sight to behold. That's all I'm gonna say. Sight to behold. So, a nightmare fuel episode of Buffy. That is, you know... I mean, not that we haven't had content like this more minutely in episodes previous to this, but I think this one was solely dedicated to being like, hey, let's just take a bunch of nightmares and bring them all into life. Let's just bring them all into fruition and see how everyone deals with it. And the answer to that question is very not well. Not very well. So yeah, but no, so yeah, no, I think I didn't even know how to start with this. Well, yeah, I think my mistake, I think because yes, I think the mistake I made was just assuming that the kid that showed up would be the anointed one, because I thought it would, I thought that would be like around about the right time. I think because like again, now we are kind of close, like inching closer to the finale. So I think in the last few episodes, actually bringing the anointed one thing into some kind of fruition, actually putting it into play, I thought, you know what, that would make sense, and maybe this is the anointed one's power, maybe actually coming up to the surface again, actually, you know, actually screwing with people and actually making them see things, but especially affecting Buffy too, before he actually drags her down to the Hellmouth and does whatever needs to be done there. So I think seeing like a little kid there too, seeing like a little boy kid there actually doing his thing, I thought, you know, maybe it's the anointed one. I think, and I think, you know, I think the fact that he looked different too, I think because he looked different to me the last time we saw him too, I kind of expected that. I thought, well, maybe he just looks even more different this time around too. So I mean, to me, he looked different. The last time we saw him down the actual Hellmouth, so I thought, oh, okay, maybe they're just actually still aging him up, or maybe they changed the actor or something, or something else happened. But then no, I think then it's actually not the anointed one at all. So that storyline is still yet to be kind of continued and revisited and everything. So there's that thing. But no, this is Billy. This is Billy, like a little kind of like a kiddie league baseball player and everything. He's just like potentially like an aspiring baseball player who then has his dreams and his actual physicality horribly crushed by his douchebag of a coach, who thankfully will never coach again. Hopefully will never coach again, be it kiddie league or even adult. I mean, if you tried that shit in some kind of adult league, then his players would probably, you know, hopefully stand up a bit better. But then him, you know, going after kids too, just, you know, just guy's just an abusive asshole who, you know, deserves everything that's coming to him. So there's that. But yeah, but he was he lost the game. I think he missed the catch. He missed the catch, which, I mean, you know, again, could happen to anybody. Even the most experienced players can still screw up sometimes and stuff like that. But then he screwed up, and then, you know, he you know, that kind of contributed to them losing the game, which then, you know, the coach somehow took personally, and then decided to personally take the beration and the kind of, you know, the kind of punishment of Billy into his own hands, possibly quite literally too. So I think I do then wonder, like, you know, did he actually hurt Billy? Because I mean, vampires do exist in this story and in this world, so I think it's not really unlikely for, you know, Billy to be emotionally harmed by the coach, and then for the coach to leave, and then for him to be caught out of nowhere by some kind of vampire or something. So then, but then I think because of the nature of this particular story, I'm kind of wondering, could could the vampire be just some kind of like a mental manifestation of his, like him manifesting like an actual monster because he sees his coach as a monster? Maybe I think like that could also be like a very workable kind of theory kind of thing. So there's that. And he even I think the guy, I think I called it a club, but I think maybe even the bat is meant to be like an actual baseball. Like the hand is actually meant to be fashioned like almost like a baseball bat too. So he actually beats him with a baseball. So I think if I mean. I mean, yeah. Again, like obviously, like if the coach actually did kind of berate him the way that he did, then obviously that's a terrible thing. But then if he actually went as far as physical abuse, then again, I mean, then prison. I think then prison, him being behind bars would make that much more sense too. Because I think if he only verbally abused him, then I think he might just be kicked off the league and he might be fired or something, and he might not be allowed to coach for like a very long time. But then if he actually did go so far as to actually physically assault him and everything, then yeah, then that's just straight to bar. Just no question about it. So I think that's just horrifying to think about too. I think he loses one game and he feels bad enough for that as it is. And especially he's a kid too. I think he was like 15. I think the newspaper headline said this. He's like a teenager hoping to do some good with this and hoping to actually be good. And then he misses one shot and he's like he feels bad enough about that already. And then after that his coach actually singles him out and actually makes him feel even worse for it. But then actually goes so far as to actually do what he does, and it's just Jesus. And I think that story also isn't uncommon either. I think there are some really I think there have been stories both in fictional shows and even in real life of coaches being really abusive and coaches being really horrible to their players and being like over kind of working them and even like just tearing them down for no good reason whatsoever. So yeah, no, so that is just horrifying to think about. Especially a kid going through that to a kid who potentially also could have actually just been getting into the game. He, like there's no, there's no mention of exactly how good of a player he's meant to be or how good of a player he is, and if this is his first time screwing up or if he's even it doesn't matter whether he is or how many times he screwed up. But then there's no mention of that whatsoever either. So I think it's even worse to think about. It's even worse to think about maybe he's actually a kid getting into this for the first time and he screws up and he's like, oh, maybe I can actually learn from this. But then no, his coach just kind of decides to, give him the worst treatment of his life. So hopefully Billy can actually, hopefully now knowing the coach is, hopefully going to be replaced by someone better, then hopefully he can actually go back into it and he can actually, do some, try again and actually be mentored this time and not just be kind of pushed around and be, told why he, be told that he sucks or that he's the reason that failures happen. I think hopefully he has a better coach and stuff. But yeah, Billy so Billy was the cause for all the nightmare stuff happening on. I think also not really of his own fault either. I think because I don't know if they I think they mentioned astral projection, but I don't know if that's actually something that Billy has experience with or if he literally was just if his desire to flee from reality or at least his reality was so powerful that even when he went into the coma he literally actually fled from his actual physical body and he actually fled into a whole other dimension and stuff. So I think that may have been the cause of it too. So, but yeah, no, I think that whole nature too. I think his very human monster being manifested into a one that the show and its fiction and its lore would actually recognize a bit better or a bit more familiarly is also like a hell of a kind of parallel to make too. Like he manifests like an actual monster that Buffy's used to dealing with simply out of the kind of the roots of his own trauma and the roots of his own kind of nightmares and everything. So that's just like a thing to think about. I think that also I think it's like one aspect out of very many different nightmares explored in this episode, but I think at the same time as well, it's it kind of really it does still kind of take at least a little bit of time to it does still take at least a little bit of time to explore the fact that humans even in this fashion can be monsters too. Because I think so far the any kind of I feel like so far any kind of actual human monsters we've had in the show so far have always been kind of self-serving and they've kind of been textbook villainous in a sense and stuff and. They've still been kind of shocking, but I think at the same time, it's they've been textbook villains. They've used textbook methods to try and achieve their goals, but then this one is actually one that is actually again him being coached too. It's those kind of villains are always kind of deeper rooted and they're more secretive and they're more kind of up close and personal. I think it's a whole lot more kind of hard hitting when it's those kinds of those types of monsters. And I think again it actually kind of does kind of take a much more kind of deeper psychologically rooted kind of the display of how humans can be monsters too. So that is just horrifying. and everything. So yeah, so Billy he was beaten so bad he went into a coma again. Just physical abuse, broad like even basic physical abuse, just horrible. But then with this one, like a 15-year-old kid was beaten by his coach into a coma. That saying that out loud, like thinking that is one thing, but then saying it out loud, yeah. But then I think so then his astral figure was still viewable. I think because like. I think even in real life, I think that is the thing that some people try. I think I've heard stories here and there, but I've never heard of any actual kind of like. Because I don't know if it's actually something that people are skeptical about, or if it's actually something that actually has been recorded to have happened, like actual astral projection. Well, I'm thinking of lucid dreaming. I think might be the closest thing I've actually heard to what's actually real. Like in that one, you can control your dreams because then you gain self awareness. You can actually you can actually come to terms with and actually realize that you're dreaming, you're in the dream world, and then that way you can control yourself and potentially even control your dreams. I think lucid dreaming, I think that might be the closest thing. I think astral projection, I'm not really sure if that's more rooted in fiction or reality, or if that's actually like if that's a thing that people kind of can do or have done in real life. I think there can be stories, but then I think how accurate those stories are or how true those stories are, I think that might be dependent on the person or dependent on the case. And I think astral projection too. I think that kind of like lucid dreaming alone takes kind of practice, because then again when you're dreaming, it's like you're in like a whole other state of mental kind of existence. But with that one, it needs self awareness. But then with astral projection, it's like you're literally it's like a lot more spiritual, and it's a lot more kind of like like mystical and stuff. So I think that one, I think it's probably harder to prove in a sense. But yeah, I mean almost anything dream related might be harder to prove and stuff, because then when you're sleeping, it's just you, and it's your word against pretty much the world and everything. So I don't know, but I think I'm pretty sure like there are like sleep science is a thing. So I'm pretty sure that like there are people who actually do research this and actually do study like the validity and the extent of all these different kind of areas and everything. So it's like a cool enough thing to actually look into and to research and everything. So I might just do that at some point. But I think to my knowledge, I think lucid dreaming is the closest thing in actual reality that I've kind of heard of it, conceptually, that is kind of close to astral projection. I think most of what I've seen just literally kind of just comes from movies and shows and everything. So I think that kind of thing, I think, might be easier to kind of portray or to actually take advantage of in terms of actual fiction and everything. So yeah, but the thing with this one, I think astral projection too. I think I don't know if I think yeah. I think that must be, because I think again, like I think that again, I think astral projection again is separation of like the spirit or the soul from the actual physical body. And I think in that one, because I was wondering, like like would they still be able to see him? Like should he not be invisible or something, or like should he not, like, or maybe it's a case of like you can choose who sees you or something. But then I think no, I think from what I can remember, like all displays and all interpretations of astral projection I've seen have shown people being able to see the spirit, and people are being able to actually differentiate between that too. I think Doctor Strange, that is a famous, I think, and not only a famous one, but also like a very recent one too. I think like like all displays of Doctor Strange we've had in the MCU so far have actually shown like the astral projection thing. And I think, well, I think the exception, I think there was that astral projection fight scene in Doctor Strange 1 where Christine couldn't see him and the sorcerer he was fighting. So they like they could see each other, but then she couldn't see them. Like she just saw like just like the room and stuff was flying about because they were fighting. So I don't know how. I think that one maybe might point in the opposite direction, but no, with that one, I think that one they've done some really cool stuff with astral projection and stuff flying out and everything. So that one has been pretty cool. And then I think there was a horror movie with astral projection. I think was it not the Conjuring? No, not I think was it not Sinister? I think there was a movie. I think it had Patrick Wilson. I think I'm pretty sure. I think it had the same guy from the Conjuring movies. I think Patrick Wilson was in it. I'm pretty sure. I think yeah, like I think that one had. I'm pretty sure that one had astral projection. I think not Sinister. No, Sinister's the one with the ghost. Insidious, I think it might be Insidious. I'm not sure. I think because I remember watching Insidious, and I'm pretty sure that one. I'm pretty sure it was Insidious. I think that one had like a kid who astral projected, and he I think his one was actually kind of similar to this one. I think he astral projected. He astral projected, but then he actually made a habit of it. He actually kept on doing it until he kind of was able to do it a bit more. But then the final time he did it was actually a lot more fatal, because then he projected too hard and too far that he actually ended up too far away from his actual body, and then he ended up in like a whole kind of nightmare world of all sorts of ghosts and ghouls and everything. So I think that one, Insidious, is actually a really fun movie. So if you haven't seen it, then definitely go check it out. It's actually a really good kind of horror movie. I mean Patrick Wilson has just done some really great horror movies. Horror movies. I think he's done Insidious. He's done don't know if Insidious has a sequel. I don't know if there's an Insidious 2, but I think the first one is really good. He's on the Conjuring trilogy too. Haven't seen the third one. I need to actually see the third one and the rest of the Conjuring kind of universe. I think that is also probably worth checking out. So there's that stuff. Wait, Conjuring. It's a trilogy, right? I think I've seen Conjuring 1 and I've seen the Enfield case. I think that's 2. I think the Conjuring 3. That is the new one, right? That is the one that just came out. Like I think the Devil Made Me Do. I think is that the third one. Or is that the fourth one? I think pretty sure that's the third one, right? I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure it is a trilogy. But then I think there are other movies outside of it like Annabelle and the Nun one as well. I think the Nun one. I think I haven't seen any of the Annabelle or the Nun ones. So there's that. But I think I've seen the first two Conjurings. I think the third one. I think the third one has to be the Devil Made Me Do It. So that too. So yeah, Patrick Wilson horror movies are great. So go check them out. But then I think Insidious is like another one where I think astral projection is actually explored in like similarly more in like a horror form, or, in a horror format too. So I think with Doctor Strange as a superhero movie, but then with Insidious, I think that would be semi. Well, it would be a lot closer to this than Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange. So yeah. So with this one, I think he astral projected himself into the nightmare world too, and I think especially I think with Giles mentioning the Hellmouth too, I think the fact that it would be so easy with the Hellmouth. I think not just that. I think not only would it be easier, but then him being over the Hellmouth too, or at least like all of Sunnydale being over the Hellmouth too. I think he also projected. I think he was also maybe actually drawn a lot more into the nightmare world too. I think like the nightmare world literally sensed his soul and actually literally pulled him in so that he could be affected by it, and then he could actually take stuff back with him and manifest a whole lot of stuff. So it's really creepy and really kind of freaky. So but then I think what actually hit me even harder, because I thought what would happen was that the main our main characters, possibly including Cordelia, but maybe not. I mean, I thought mainly like our main characters are like Giles, Buffy, Willows, and like they would be transported into like an alternate dimension or alternate kind of reality where their nightmares were kind of ever so kind of minimalistically coming to life and everything, and then they'd be transported into that dimension as this stuff was happening. But then no, the thing by the end of it, I think with everyone else running around them and all the world going to array, and even that portal connecting them to the actual nighttime cemetery thing too, it showed that all of reality was actually crumbling and being kind of meddled with because of the fact that the real world and the nightmare dimension were colliding thanks to Billy and his astral projected nightmare realm kind of collaborations. So for lack of a better term, collaborations. So that was happening. So in the whole world. So I think with that then with that then it kind of makes more sense that Cordelia herself would also be affected. And then what Wendell's one was starting off. I think Wendell's one. I think the fact that they opened up with Wendell's thing and Wendell's thing being what it was too. Well, Wendell's thing being what it was, and the fact that they opened up with that. I don't think I've ever, felt more personally attacked by the Buffy writers in my life. I don't think I've ever felt more personally attacked in my life. I think I've done nothing but love this show and watch it and support it and share these emotions, and then they throw that in my face out of nowhere. I think I kind of shouldn't say out of nowhere either, because again, that exact shot, I think, or at least one of those shots is like 5 seconds long, and in the intro, the Buffy intro, and I hate it every time I see it, but I think I endure it because the theme song is a fucking bop, and there's all sorts of cool shots in there that really kind of summarize what the show, or at least the first season, is about. So I think, I endure it. It kind of goes well with the whole theme and everything. But then the actual scene comes in, and I'm not ready for that. I think I then completely forget. Oh yeah, each of those shots is meant to represent one of the episodes and what goes on in the season. So I completely forget that, and then it's like, oh god. So like he opens up a book and a bunch of I'm not gonna say the word. Bunch of spiders just pops out and everything, and I was not ready for that. I was not even remotely prepared for that thing for that to become a reality. That completely threw me off, and I was. So I mean, again, I think I've definitely mentioned this before. I am not personally the biggest fan of spiders. I think with me, I think I think I would definitely kind of say for me it's mild, because I think if they are bigger than the palm of my hand, if they can fit like that, but I mean, I wouldn't pick them up or anything to test it out. But I think if they're bigger than the palm of my hand, like right here, like this kind of size here, if they're bigger than this, or if they can cover my hand, then no. Like if they can cover this area, then definitely not. But then if they're bigger than this, which they can be, then I will be, moving countries until something has been sorted out. So yeah. But then if they're small and they're really really teeny tiny size, then it's like, you know what, there's just like I can, leave that alone and just let it kind of go on its own daily business and everything. Whatever it's gonna do is gonna do. It's a spider, so um. So that's the whole thing. And I think again, and now I can relate to Willow too. Now I can relate to Willow on more levels than one. She can, she also is not the biggest fan of spiders. And I think her description of it too, like he's so crawly and so hairy, and who needs it? Like what creature needs 8 legs and all those webs sticking out and the webs and all the stuff, like her description of spiders is also just really spot on, and her disdain for them, and her like kind of lack of a fondness and polar opposite of fondness for them, also very relatable. So I think I feel like the more this show goes on, I feel like Willow is the character I can actually relate to. Pretty much every other aspect I can actually relate to Willow on this. I think she is my kind of kind of other half on this show, so that much is cool. But I think we kind of generally did very different fears. I think her nightmare would not even be applicable to me in any way. So there's that. But yeah, with the spiders one, just got they just caught me. It's caught me. And I think again, it's like it's also like the size and the numbers. I think the size like the size of those spiders, the size makes the size of those spiders makes it so that one would be bad enough, but then it's like a whole swarm of them that just pops out of nowhere for no apparent reason. Why does that many spiders need to exist in a scene of this show at all? It makes no logical or comfortable sense. So yeah. Yeah, you couldn't tell, it got to me. So yeah, that scene was just a personal attack. It was just a personal attack, just directed directly at me. So yeah, and then they actually started swarming all over swarming all over Wendell, which I only caught glimpses of because I literally could not look at the screen in direct more than like 2-second glimpses, because then every time they showed up I was like, no, I just can't really watch this stuff go down. No thank you. So yeah, that was not so fun. That was not fun. I usually end like a point off by saying, so yeah, that was fun or interesting, but no thank you. No, thank you. So yeah, I think again, I mean, I feel like maybe most people in this case would feel this way too. But I think because again, I think it is like maybe like an understandably weird thing. Because again, I don't hate spiders. I'm just really not fond of them. But I love Spider-Man. Give me Spider-Man. Give me Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, Spider-Gwen. Spider-Man 2019. Like, give me the Spider-Verse any day. Give me all those like Spider-Man. Like Spider heroes any day of the week. I love them. I love them to bits. Although there is one scene, I believe it's from the animated 90s series, that like there is one scene where Peter literally has the body of a giant spider, but yes, he's still human head. Like that scene, I saw that one. That's the only. I believe that might be the. I think that and maybe another clip somewhere else. But I think that scene, I saw that once and I was like, no, okay, this show clearly isn't for me if they're gonna be pulling shit like that. I think that was like some kind of like a vision he had to. Just I saw that once and I was like, okay, no, thank you, never mind. I'll just leave this for future me to handle when I'm far more mature and able to handle fears and everything. So still hasn't happened yet. So that happened, but I think that is the one scene that and maybe one other scene is the only kind of clip I've seen from the show. Spider characters, spider heroes, Spider-Man give me that any day. I love them. But then spiders themselves, and I mean, and I think to be fair too, I think it helps that the spider that bit him is not a giant one too. I think that one was teeny tiny. I was also teeny tiny with different genes and like sharp fangs and everything. So I think it helps that he wasn't bitten by like a giant fuck off or like a tarantula or anything. So that definitely helps. But yeah, I think the fact that it was tarantulas that crawled out the book too. I don't know why they went with that. I don't know why they decided to do that. That was unnecessary. It was uncalled for. But then, yeah, I think with Wendell too, I think it was even weirder because again, you'd think, I mean, I think it was weirder because he started off by saying that he actually loved spiders, he collected them and everything, so he was actually fond of them. But then afterwards, like he started, like after his brother got his collection killed, I think he left like a heat lamp on too long, so I think they burned or they just kind of melted or something. So he left his collection in the care of his brother. Who I mean even in fairness, his brother could have been a simple mistake, could have just been lack of oversight or something. But then he actually he left the heat lamp on too long, and then I think they all died, and then he started having nightmares about about that exact situation happening, and he kind of had them periodically, and he had them routinely and everything, so that kept happening. So then yes, I think after that, I think then I started to wonder like, oh, maybe this is actually karma. Like, oh, you know, either you got them killed or you actually left them in the kind of care of someone who was careless, and then that got them killed. So either way, you just like he was being punished by some other kind of entity who was plaguing him with all these nightmares, and until one day it actually came true. So then I think his Billy's first visit back from the nightmare dimension, and he brings Wendell's kind of dream to life. So that was horrifying. That was horrifying. So yeah, but I think there are people out there who genuinely do love spiders and genuinely can handle being around them, and I honestly, I mean, I envy that and I admire that too. I think I admire that. I admire the fondness for them, and I admire the ability to be around them, and also the desire to be around them. I think I envy that. Oh, no, I admire that. I admire that, but then I envy any people who have like a casual reaction to them. I envy people who actually aren't bothered by them and can be around them and can be kind of can actually be around them without being creeped out. I kind of envy that, but then I admire people who also do work with them. People who do work with bugs and insects and arachnids and everything. This episode was also like a nice enough reminder that arachnids and insects aren't the same thing, and that insects have 6 legs and the arachnids actually have 8 of them. So it was a nice enough reminder of that. I definitely in my mind I definitely interchange them like a bit too much too. I just kind of like I think I kind of somewhat like safely assumed that oh like they're near enough in the same kind of portion of biological life and everything, so it feels safe to assume. But now I know that difference. So yeah, insects are 6 and then arachnids are 8. So yeah, yeah, I'll go with Xander's one next. Xander's one, I think. So I think he actually did state what his fear would be. I think because he compared I think he kind of parallel compared his on to Wendell too. I think he said that like he would be freaked out if like a bunch of Nazis crawled over his face. I think that thing, and then that then made his vision all the more scary because I literally thought he'd be. I was literally preparing myself to see Xander being chased down hallways by an actual group of Nazi soldiers. I think I was terrified the moment that actual kind of swastika spray paint showed up on the actual walls of the hallway and everything, and I think they actually spray painted like around the fire kind of escape button, and even like in a couple of other places. I don't know if he actually I think he didn't seem to have any he didn't seem to have any adverse kind of any specific reaction to it. So I don't know if he actually noticed it or if he kind of didn't really kind of register it properly, but then I think it was definitely there in the background, at least for the audience to see. So it's definitely there. But he seemed, I think his fear then was actually narrowed down a bit more to him being afraid of a clown that showed up at his 6th birthday party and everything. So people, I think plenty of people also have a fear of clowns. I think for me, clowns are 50-50. For me, clowns are 50-50. I'm 50% creeped out by them and 50% annoyed by them. I think a fair amount of the time they can also I think it's a part of their act, like the way they are, the way they act it's all a part of their act. That's how clowns behave, and then clowns are trying to be funny and funky and goofy and everything. But then it's also just like sometimes it's just really fucking annoying, like the way that they are and everything. But then I think it's also I think for me it's also fair to say that like their incorporation into horror, like the way that clowns have been killer clowns and ghost clowns and murder clowns and all these different things, that kind of integration has also made me a bit more creeped out. Because I think it's also like, especially whenever like mundane or normal seeming things are incorporated into horror, that I then kind of like my perspective on them kind of shifts and everything. So it's like anything that seems normal being used in a horror movie and stuff like everyday objects being cursed and dolls and children and clowns and all these different things like all these kind of like normal seeming things from real life actually being taken into stories and being cursed and being horrified, if that's even a word. That kind of change, that kind of shifts my kind of ability to view it as like a normal thing anymore, and actually to just kind of be wary of it and everything. I think Doctor Who's done that to me. Doctor Who has done that to hell and back. Doctor Who has actually gone and taken the most the most kind of like ordinary things, the most like kind of random things, and turned it into something absolutely kind of horrifying, like shadows, statues. Off the top of my head, there's a two I can think about, like any kind of like robots, even besides from Cybermen. Doctor Who has successfully taken like completely normal, completely kind of ordinary things that you would never imagine, like that you would very rarely imagine as being scary, and then it's actually completely put its own kind of Doctor Who horror twist on them. So they've done dolls before too. They've done dolls and they've done mannequins. They've done so many different things. Wi-Fi. They managed to make Wi-Fi scary. They actually managed to make Wi-Fi like a deadly thing. They've done so much. They've done so much in their time, and I'm honestly just kind of weirdly proud of them for doing that. But then also it's like Doctor Who has done that more than any kind of like more than like a lot of different kind of horror films I can think of. But then with horror you get like the actual big budget feature length horror films, and then you also get the really short horror films on like YouTube. Like there are some really solid and really top notch kind of short horror films on YouTube that people should really check out and actually give a chance. And you know hopefully if it's the filmmakers' intentions, and hopefully they should get enough awareness and attention and funding to actually go bigger and better with it. But then if not, then I think like short horror films especially always do amazingly well too, like how much they actually manage to pack into like a 10, 15, maybe even 20-minute kind of space and everything. Like what they manage to do with it is always really, really creative and really clever and everything, so that definitely helps. Where was I going with this? I think clowns. He has Anders one. I think his one is a clown showing up to his 6th birthday party, and then the clown had a knife, and I think his one was I think even Willow actually referenced it in real life too, like the clown showed up at his birthday party, but then it actually kind of started chasing through the halls, and that terrified him, which I think for anyone that kind of probably would have the same reaction to it. So then his one was a clown, and then he faced it in the end. He did literally kind of like as they're about to leave the hallway, I think he did face it in. He literally kind of did like a whole kind of U-turn, and then just did like a solid right hook to the clown's face and knocked it right out. And then actually started kind of berating and chastising its kind of skills as a clown, being like anyone can do balloon animals, and anyone can do a giraffe, and you're not even that funny. So adios fears, and he overcame his fears and everything. So that was cool. And I think emotionally speaking, Buffy's was the worst. Emotionally speaking, I think Buffy's might have been the worst. I think because I think from the beginning, her and her mother did talk about like how her dad was coming to town and was going to be visiting everything. I think we haven't. I think they might have mentioned visits before. I very vaguely remember them mentioning like weekend visits or like periodic kind of visits between them before, but I think this is the first weekend that they've had, or at least like close to the weekend episode that we've had where he actually has shown up and everything. And I thought that was going to be a big deal for some reason, because I think with Joyce not knowing about her being the chosen one, her like being like the Slayer and everything, I thought maybe her dad would know. I thought maybe like her father would know. Maybe her father would actually be aware, and I thought maybe that would be the reason that he really left. Maybe in the same way that Giles's father told him that he was destined to be able to be a Watcher, and him actually being trained for that. Maybe like on his end, like destiny was believed to be like the be all and end all kind of thing. Like Giles had to be a Watcher no matter what. So then his father made sure that would happen. But then maybe with Buffy's father Hank, I think with Hank though, maybe he still saw Buffy as a child, and he still saw her as like an actual child that deserved to live the life that she wanted and deserved to live the life that she dreamt about. So maybe he actually kind of maybe he minimally trained her, or maybe he actually had kind of had something to do with her being the new Slayer, and she had something to do with her training. But then he actually kind of saw that it was taking her. Maybe like it was gonna be like maybe there was gonna be like a twist of her of like him realizing that she needed a childhood more than anything. So then he actually left because that maybe he actually left and tried to take the Slayer stuff with him, but then it still ended up going through with going through for her, and then he just couldn't make it back or something. So I thought maybe there's gonna be a twist involving him knowing and being involved in the Slayer side of her life and everything. So I thought maybe that was gonna be the case, but then clearly not. Clearly, like her father could not. I think not to judge appearances too much, but I think her father also just could not look more like an average Joe, like an average Joe. Like he could not look more like an average kind of dad, and he could not like kind of be more of an average dad. But then of course like the first time, like his first appearance too is actually when the Nightmare World is still kind of blending in, and he's actually caught up in the nightmare too, and he's actually he comes in, he asks for a private chat with Buffy, and in said chat he tears her apart. He tears her apart from the inside out. He blames the divorce on her. He blames everything else on her. He blames her, like he says that she's like a hassle, and she's troublesome to be around and to be with, and she's a nightmare of a child, and that she was horrible to have to raise and everything. Like he tears her apart as inhumanely as he possibly can, and to see that scene unfolding too, to see Buffy herself actually being broken by her own father like that, actually kind of tore me apart. Actually, like, just it hurt to watch, and I think Sarah Michelle Gellar's acting during that scene too, like her actually so vividly portraying that too, this is a father. This is a father that, for one thing, she very rarely sees, but then also, I feel like almost any child going through a situation like that too. But I mean, based on stories I've heard, I think I've not personally heard any kind of stories from people I know, but I think based on stories that have been interpreted, and also like real life stories that are actually shared around and everything. I think people. I think a lot of the time it's very easy. I think it also might depend on the age of the child too. I think it can very easily depend on the actual age of the child as well, or the children. If there's more than one child, then that's even harder. But a lot of the time the kids can feel like they're the reason why, and then like maybe like that kind of either pushes them even harder to try and actually keep their parents together and actually to actually try and be the reason that they can stay together. But then I think in other cases it kind of forces the kids to kind of feel like they're being pushed down and to kind of push themselves down to actually blame themselves on top of it. So then like being in that situation too, I think maybe even if still even now like a small part of her believes that she might have been the reason why, or that she might have had a factor to play in it, then she's then kind of told to her face by her father that she's the reason why, and that he hates like having to be around her, and he even hates the weekend visits too. Like he even says that, oh, the weekend visits that don't really bring me anything. It's just like Then he even says I clearly don't enjoy these weekend visits, so then maybe we should just put an end to them. So then he just spends the entire scene tearing her apart and making her feel like shit, and then just seeing Buffy so broken like that by another human being too. Because I think she has faced monsters of nearly all kinds with little to no avail, with little to no hardship or anything, with little to no kind of emotional struggle. But then the first time we see her interacting with her father in an episode on this show, he tears her apart, and it just doesn't feel good at all. So Buffy I think I think even if that was fake, and even if that I think again that was also like a manifestation of her own nightmares. Like her own nightmares, her own fears include feeling like she's the reason that her parents are apart in the first place, and actually seeing that come to life just has to be like one of the worst possible things to happen to her. And again, day-to-day basis, she fights vampires and all sorts of other kind of evil creatures from hell, from literal hell. But then the one thing that actually can break her is being told that she's the reason that her parents aren't together anymore, and that she's the reason that that not only do her parents not love each other, but then her own father doesn't even actually love her or anything. So yeah, it's just it's horrible. It's horrible. I think honestly, Cordelia had it fairly easy too. I think compared to what the rest of them were, I feel like Cordelia had it fairly easy. Buffy's was emotionally traumatic and other stuff, and then Cordelia's was just like a bad headache. But I think that can really happen. That can happen to almost anyone. I think almost anyone can really kind of be affected by that. I think with Cordelia, with Cordelia, given just how much she prides herself on her appearance too, and I think that's like I think there's honestly like a message to be to actually be taken in there too. I think whether or not it's intentional, whether or not you see it, I think it's good enough to kind of like maybe acknowledge it at least a little bit. Like the way she carries herself is honestly can also be seen as very, very kind of damaging. Like the fact that she prides herself so much on her appearance, like not just to make herself feel good. Because I think if she were doing that, if she were going the lengths that she was going just to make herself feel good, then that would be fine. That would be absolutely fine. But then if she like the fact the way that she sees herself, the way that she wants other people to see her too, it's like it can very easily be like a damaging kind of thing too. Like she feels like she needs to be seen as the most popular, the most attractive, the most beautiful, the most kind of everything in the school, and she needs to kind of stay at the top of that kind of social kind of food chain and everything. So the stuff that she does to kind of keep it to actually put herself there, but to also keep herself there, can be seen as like a very damaging thing to do, and it's like very, very kind of damaging to her identity and her sense of self. So I think the fact that one day of like freezing, I think, granted, it didn't really look the best. Like it did definitely look like super duper out of control hair. So I feel like that would have been easier to kind of pass off as that if it was like, you know, oh, maybe it's like it's really curly, or it's curlier than usual, or it's like really kind of, you know, it's brushed the wrong way or something. But then hers, like, it was super duper fucking frizzy. And I think I'm pretty sure like her brush, actually her comb snapped or something, like one of the tines on her comb snapped trying to comb in everything. And then I think later on down the line, I think her dress changed too. I think she dressed into something that really wasn't matching up to her usual style, and then she was actually dragged by some kids into like chess club and everything. So I think for her, I think that extension shows that her nightmare was actually being seen as one of them, as like one of the nerds, or as like one of the less kind of popular, or like one of the not so cool kids. Like her nightmare is literally having her identity being flipped upside down and being one of the people that she constantly judges and pushes around every day. So I think with her, it can also kind of maybe like in some sense be seen as karma too, because I think she is the one who actively berates them. She's the one who actively kind of pushes them around and actually, you know, socially judges them, and, you know, like does all these things to them, and treats them this way. So then for her, it's like, you know, she is then afraid of becoming what she sees as so lesser and so little. So I think for her, it's like, you know, I wonder. I mean, I don't know if it will, because I don't know if there's really room for that from this. But then I mean, I kind of hope it would. I'm hoping maybe like that nightmare she's had, maybe hopefully it might kind of force her to see things in a different way, or to actually kind of be less of the way she is. Like, again, if she were this way to keep herself comfortable and to keep herself happy, then it would be fine. But then like her whole personality so far has just been kind of treating other people like this, and actually being mean and being horrible and being judgmental, and, you know, keeping herself on top by pushing other people down, which is like a textbook bully thing to do. So maybe if like this nightmare that she had kind of convinced her to change her ways and to actually start being like a reasonable and decent human being again, that would be great. But I think on the other hand, like knowing knowing that this was also like a one time thing too, it's not like a repeating nightmare for her. Like for her, it was just like one giant nightmare of like two different things happening. So it might just kind of be like, it might just force her to be like, oh boy, I'm glad that was a nightmare and not like an actual reality. But then stuff can still change the thing cordially. I think I'm just not really kind of sure either way of like where this kind of is really taking her. I'm hoping that this nightmare at least can actually change her, or actually kind of open her eyes to something different and to something new. But I guess we can only really wait and see where it takes. I think otherwise, I think if you don't look at it through that kind of a lens, I feel like it's just mostly just gonna be like, oh, like her worst nightmare is being seen as one of them, or like being, or like not having her outfit match, or not having her hair be as perfect and shiny as it usually is. So I don't know. I really don't know. So. But yeah, Xander's initial one. I think the clown stuff and the Nazi stuff was actually the second time around. Like his that was his extension. I think the first time round, he ended up actually being semi-nude in class. I think he lost everything except for his underwear. I think hopefully his shoes and socks were still there too. I think running barefoot anywhere outside like that, I think would just be horrible. But I think he walked into class and all of a sudden his clothes just vanished, and he, you know, was semi-nude. So there was that. And I think from what I've heard, that is also like a common nightmare for people to have too. You know, I think people kind of get like experience that one in different ways too. Like, so like sometimes people have those nightmares and everyone notices. So like other times people have those nightmares and like no one notices, but then it's still like, because they're aware that they're actually nude. Yeah, it still affects them, and then they still fight to get out of the situation. They still fight to get out of that situation. But then no one else around them really notices and acknowledges their own things. So it's like, it's still kind of weird to have. But with him, definitely people notice. With him, people definitely notice, because it was in the real world too. It was in the real world. So then that happened and everything. So that was his one. That was his first one. So yeah, that was so nudity and semi like Nazi stuff, and then also some clownery. So his one was packed. Then there was Giles's one too. Giles's one was an interesting one. I think I can't remember exactly what. I think one of his was not being able to read. But then the first thing that came into my head when I was that was like, the first thing that popped into my head when he said that was like, was it like, is he dyslexic, or is he like is that, because I think, I mean, that wouldn't be, I don't know if that would really be like a nightmare. I thought maybe that would be like, for him, maybe he would be the exception to the nightmare thing, and he wouldn't be experiencing it. But then it would be like a last minute thing, it would be uncovered, or like a later thing would be uncovered. But then no, I think he said he couldn't read, but then he didn't really kind of describe exactly what that was. I think he said it was gibberish, so fair to kind of fair to say that you probably imagine that either the words were still jumbled up, or maybe it was like not written in English or something else. I mean, but I mean, he said he reads like 5 languages on a good day, so maybe this was just really like not only not in English, but then just not really not in like a language he understood, or maybe it was actually maybe it was literally gibberish where it was literally just random letters just kind of you know bumped into kind of words and sentences and everything. So that was that whole thing. But then I think he mentions something about getting like lost in the closet or something, because I think he mentions something about getting lost in the closet or something, because I think when they came into the library he was way up in the kind of utility room upstairs or something, and then he actually came out there looking all dazed and confused or something. So that happened, and then I was just lost as to what he was doing in there too. So that was a thing. So I think that was one of his kind of different kind of confusions. And then afterwards, it was actually him not being able to read. His other nightmare was when they crossed over into the cemetery world. They found his nightmare, and it was actually Buffy dying under his watch. And it's like, I mean, yeah, so like in like a human way too, but I think also mostly because of the fact that she was a slayer, and he was her watcher, and he had to guide her and mentor her, but then she still dies. I think mostly it was actually her. It was I feel like it was, I think, at least dialogue wise, at least I think it was like definitely in like an actual like a professional way, like she is the slayer, she's the chosen one, and she needs the watcher that's been assigned to her to actually guide her, and that is his job, that's his duty, is what he's trained his whole life for. So then to actually kind of see his nightmare coming to life in that way too, like even under his watch, even under his guidance, she still died, and she still failed him, and she was gifted, and she was gifted, but then it was his job to actually teach her how to use those gifts in the best ways possible and in the right ways, and all that kind of stuff. But then she still died, so then that kind of tore him apart. But then, see, the way I see this going, and I mean, maybe it might be too early to say, but then also I just definitely get the vibe that, like, given how early we are in the season, and also like given how much more left we've got to go, I can definitely see them giving. Buffy and Giles the whole kind of father-daughter kind of relationship later down the line too. I think given how much time that it already feels like they're gonna spend together, and given how much time that they're like, it already looks like they're gonna kind of be spending together, I think it's kind of like it doesn't feel implausible to kind of like hope for, or at least to like expect that kind of thing on the horizon. Doesn't mean I want any confirmation of details. I'm more than happy to watch that journey unfold for myself. So, like on that note too, I think it's best to kind of avoid comments like, "Oh, wait till you get to this season," or "Wait till you get to that episode." Like they have a really good moment here or there or wherever. Like I think setting expectations with comments is also something I'd really like to avoid. So, keep those to a minimum. But it's like like on that note, like I think it's the kind of thing I can definitely kind of feel and kind of like expect like somewhat on the horizon. Actually, kind of like I can definitely kind of see that happening. So I think maybe deep down he does kind of feel that way. But I think for right now it's way too early to kind of speak on those terms. From the get go, I think right now they're like right now what they've done and what they've done is establish that kind of mentor mentee kind of relationship, and then and what they're now developing is the continuation of that kind of working relationship and everything. So later on down the line, things can get a lot heavier and like a lot more tense, and then they can go through a lot more that kind of brings them together in like a more human kind of way. But for right now, I think his main kind of fear is, I think not just that, but also I think because I think there's really no telling like exactly how old the previous kind of slaves before her kind of lived to be, like, because I think she's a teenager. She's a teenager. She's a high school she's a high school kid, a high school student, and then she's essentially a kid. So I think actually having her die like that too, like having like an actual teenager die on his watch too, like someone who in like outside of all slaying kind of responsibilities and outside of all slaying kind of duties, like she's a teenager, so actually having it like someone who he does consider to be a child dying on his watch. I think kids have died countless times and they've not been the slayer, so then that kind of makes sense that they're defenseless. But then with her, it's like she's a kid with all these powers and these responsibilities. But then in that regard, he feels like he has to be able to protect her. But then in like another regard, he's just like she's like a child to him, and I think he feels that much more responsibility to her to actually make sure that she lives to kind of see that kind of future of her life. No matter what else she does with her life, I think he wants to be able to make sure that she does get there to actually to actually live to tell the tale of how she actually grew, and how she grew old and hopefully died a peaceful kind of death and everything, instead of being killed by things like this early in her life and everything. So I feel like deep down, like, that must be even more hard hitting for him. But then what he actually said, what he actually lets out is the fact that he was meant to protect her and to guide her, and instead she died on his watch. So for him, that is an equally kind of bad kind of nightmare to have. So yeah. Then Willow's one was also like an equally kind of I think hers was more to do with stage fright, which I think is also like a general kind of nightmare, like a general anxiety that people can have, and especially like people who can perform. I mean, if you want to go into that kind of an industry and then that kind of a thing, especially like stage stuff. Let's do. I feel like with stage stuff, it's like a lot more daunting because that kind of stuff is live. You don't get like a second take, third take, that kind of stuff. If you're doing screen acting and screen performances, and I think that's like relatively easy to deal with. But I think with stage stuff, especially like singing and stage acting and all that kind of stuff, I think it's a lot easier to actually get stage fright and to forget everything and to do all that kind of stuff. And with her, I think I think she also had the fear that could because she never actually learned any of the words either. I think for the parts that she was supposed to sing in that performance, she never learned any of the words, and then they're on it in like Italian as well. Like it was like an Italian performance. So then, when she tried, it just kind of came out as like a really croaky, groany kind of voice and everything. So for her, that was her fear, and I think they actually got her, like, I think I'm pretty sure like what they got her dressed up in was like an actual kimono dress too, and I think she had like some white kind of powdered kind of face makeup and the lipstick and the whole kind of shebang and everything. So I think they actually kind of dolled her up for the actual performance, but then yeah, the time came and she just couldn't do it. Because she didn't know the words, but then I think also because I think she's expressed she has it. I think it was actually in the last episode. I think in the last episode in the last episode she actually did express some general kind of stage fright too. Because then she said at first she said she could play the piano, but then it was like, oh, in front of other people. Oh, then no, I can't do that in front of other people. So I think she has stage fright in that thing. And then I think in the post credit scene she actually did deliver like a few lines before she actually ran off and fled the scene of the performance. So I think she does have generalized kind of stage kind of fright and maybe even anxiety in general. But I think I think she's fairly kind of socially awkward and socially kind of distant and everything. But then I think with this one too, I think with hers, I think also like all the attention. I think all the attention being focused on her and her having to deliver something that kind of big too can be a very very daunting thing. So yeah, with hers, I think also like a very definite kind of very very relatable and very kind of understandable kind of fear that isn't really kind of based or rooted in anything kind of supernatural. Because I think it's also relatively refreshing to see that even after everything that she's been through, both alone and with the team, her fears, and I think at least the fears exposed and the fears kind of shown in this episode are still relatively human too. I think with her, she has, along with Xander with the clown thing. I think she has. I think with the clown thing, I think that can definitely be like incidental and kind of circumstantial. But I think with her, I think she also has like one of the more human and like humanly kind of rooted kind of fears out of all of them. So I think it's one that like pretty much anyone can relate to a lot more than like anything else that they've shown. So I think that it kind of goes to show like it kind of just goes to show despite how much they've been through, how grounded Willow is in her humanity, but also in reality as well. Like even after everything they face, like even after she's been nearly killed by a variety of monsters in the season, the nightmare of hers that actually comes to life is one where she's actually forced to perform in front of the whole in front of the whole like audience, and stuff doesn't really go her way. So yeah, Willow is cool. Willow is super duper cool. So then I am wondering, right, if because again, like I think the Master showed up in the graveyard right before he actually dropped Buffy down into the actual coffin and buried her alive and everything. So that was another one of her. I think that might have been another one of hers actually being buried alive and stuff. But then I think so. I think even in that one, you'd kind of expect the villain to be like, oh yeah, no, this is all real. You're about to die. This is your worst nightmare come true, and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm wondering, could that have actually been even slightly real? Because saying that out loud now, I think that again, like it's just like a representation of actual textbook villainy of like the villain telling you, oh, it's all real. You're about to die. It's your greatest failure. I'm defeating you and everything, all that kind of stuff. But then I can't wonder, but because of the fact that the realities were merging and reality itself was crumbling down, I feel like anything could have been possible. So like even momentarily, the Master could have technically become free, because then the Hellmouth is where is the foot is in like the Hellmouth is basically like having the foot in the door where hell is, like, like hell is a door and the door is open, but then you got your foot in the door, like that's essentially what the Hellmouth is. I think because of that, if the realities were really breaking down and the barriers were breaking down or whatever, then I feel like that kind of an appearance could have actually been possible even slightly, and then that could have been their first kind of slightly official, like unofficial slash official kind of meeting together, and then that could have been the Master himself actually seeing, like, like reality's crumbling down and anything's possible now, so even now I'm free and he's going out and doing his thing. So that could have been our first meeting between between Buffy and the Master. So that I mean, potentially, I think, hopefully, like, under better circumstances too. Well, like, preferably under better circumstances where it's like, like where she doesn't have to worry about any other kind of threats besides, but any other threats besides the Master. But with this one, it's like, for one thing, reality is crumbling down and nightmares are coming to life, and then now she has the Master climbing out of his kind of pit of doom and despair, and even taunting her and actually burying her alive and everything. So, but I think by the end of the episode, they had a really great message too, and I think even Buffy helping Billy too. Buffy helping Billy actually like being like, Billy has to not only kill his fear, but he has to unmask his fear. I think that whole kind of concept of actually unmasking the monster and not even really seeing a face underneath, but actually having the monster, like the monster being unmasked and being exposed for the nothingness that it truly was, and even actually being powered down by Billy's courage was like a really, really refreshing thing to see. And it's the messages that ending gave overall to, like, even like Billy, like even like a kid like him who's actually suffered as much as he has, still being encouraged and still being kind of aided in his kind of journey to defeat his own kind of his own darkness and his own fears and everything was a really positive and uplifting thing to see. I think that kind of messaging as a whole is really heartwarming to see too. Actually, like, and again, I think it brings me back to that line from, I think it's from the third Doctor too. Like, courage isn't about being about not being afraid or even denying being afraid. It's like, if you're afraid, then be afraid, but just do it anyway. Like, actually, you, like, if you're gonna use that fear to empower you or to push you through or to actually, in the end, actually remind you it's not real. It's not like you have control over your fears and however they manifest and everything. So, it's a matter of actually acknowledging that you're afraid, but then doing what needs to be done anyway. Because then you can be afraid and you can hide and it'll keep on going forever, or you can be afraid, but then actually use that fear to be like, you know what, I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of actually having to of actually constantly running and hiding, and then you can actually get the job done and actually defeat the evil and everything. So yeah, no matter what fears you have, no matter what nightmares you have, in the end, if you can control it, then if you can overpower it, then you can actually control it. So it's a really nice message to actually see. So, and especially in like a genre, in like an actual genre like this, in a show that's that's themed in this way too. Like, like Buffy herself, having like Buffy the chosen one, that like the hero of the series, actually having her own struggles and having her own fears that she constantly has to get over, is a really kind of empowering thing to see, and actually seeing her overpower them in the seeing her not only seeing her overpower them in the end, but then also actually seeing her helping other people overpower theirs in the end too, shows that she's actually like a hero for the people. She actually cares about helping people overcome their own fears and overcome their own kind of traumas and tragedies and everything. So she really is like she's not just there to stake vampires, but she's not just there to kill monsters, but then she's also there to actually kind of show people your fear doesn't have to control you, doesn't have to actually do this to you. You can be just as strong as me without being the chosen one. So I think even in that regard, Sarah Michelle Gellar is iconic too, like her actually playing the character that kind of fluidly and that kind of vividly and everything. So it's a really cool thing to see. It's a really, really cool thing to see. So yeah, right, I think that is pretty much all I've actually kind of jotted down in terms of notes. But overall, overall, like a very much like a mind trip of an episode, and just like an exploration of different kinds of fears. Some of which, as an audience, as a viewer, you can relate to, and others that are a bit more kind of fictitious than anything else. But still, like a really like an enjoyable episode in that regard. But then still seeing all these things come to life still kind of irks me, and it's still kind of really kind of endurance testing and comfort testing and everything. So definitely an episode that takes you outside of your comfort zone, but almost every almost every TV show under this kind of genre has that. So at this point, it's just like like not necessarily seeing same old, but still it's like an interesting kind of revisit to that kind of like an element of storytelling and that kind of element of actual kind of theme and everything. So yeah, this was fun. This was still ironically enough fun. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it too. But for now, that is all I've got. So that was Buffy Season 1, Episode number 10. So thank you guys, as always, so much for being here and for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy it, then leave a like and comment what your thoughts are, and actually and how you felt about this episode, and any if you're comfortable, then any fears you have that you feel like you've conquered, and any kind of fears that you have that you felt were kind of reflected in this, or like actually empowered by like your your combative, which was overpowered, empowered even by this episode, and any kind of general thoughts you have on this episode as a whole. Do feel free to let me know and leave it in the comments. And full-length reaction for those who are interested, that one will be over on Patreon, so you can go check that out over there. And yeah, that is it from me until the next time. So, bye-bye.